All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Some of the same people. Welcome again. Wasn't that convenient? You just were able to stay at the same place and just do more creative work. So if you were in the last session, this one we've got a little bit more time. Got about an hour and a half. We'll probably take up most of it. We're going to start with just kind of some demonstrations and such, but then we're going to have about half the time to be able to actually go and create some things and do some actual hands-on activities. So I think it should be a lot of fun. So this is professional content creation on a college student budget. The subtitle is how to use free software and low-cost accessories to create high-quality content for student organizations, nonprofits, and personal portfolios. But I think this also applies to just kind of going on vacation or hanging out, right? Using some of the, so we've all had the experience of you're in a beautiful place, right? Or a great situation, so maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but you're not able to capture the moment, right? You're not able to kind of get something up to the quality that you really had hoped. And if you're lucky, you're carrying around a DSLR or some really expensive camera. But more often than not, especially given the budget that we've got to work with in a college, as college students, you've got your cell phone. And the beautiful thing is now is the cell phone cameras are getting exceptional, right? And so it's just a little bit of knowledge, just a little bit of forethought, maybe an accessory. There are so many free tools available now that with your cell phone, you can actually capture some amazing footage that can even pass as maybe not top-end professional, but certainly can get you in the door as far as a for portfolio piece, or to start to actually point to what's possible, again, with just a little bit of extra work. So that's the purpose of this session. My name's Chris Cooney, and if you were in the last session or if you're one of my students, hey, all right, good to see you again. If not, I teach at Murrow College, and I teach, one of the things I teach is digital content creation and digital content promotion. So we get to do a lot of fun things. The other thing I do is I'm a part of a group that is the Murrow Innovation Community, which is a group of students. We've got 5 interns this semester. So we've got the 5 interns that do work, various projects for organizations both on campus and off. There's also a collaborative space that's in Jackson Hall that we've just occupied this semester and hope to build on. So I get to do some creative work, which is a lot of fun. Part of what's enabled that creative work this year has been the tool set that Adobe makes available. So we've got Bridget McNamara here from Adobe, and she's been a wonderful partner this year. She is our customer success manager, is that right? All right. And she's also a Coug. She graduated from Carson College a while back, so we're great to have her back on campus. And she has been on campus a lot this semester, doing some great work with our students. And again, a great partner in this work. We also have Lance Lejeski. Lieski? Yeah. I'm just butchering the last names. He's a senior, so if anyone is interested in hiring an outstanding photographer and digital content creator and communicator, Lance is your guy. So he is one of the interns as well at the Murrow Innovation Community. So Lance, and also you were an editor at the Evergreen. I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
I'm a fifth year at Victory Lab. I've done a lot the last handful of years, so that was the season.
All right. So, so Lance and Bridget are going to kind of walk through a couple things. First of all, we're going to talk about kind of how do you capture media? How do you go that, take an extra step or add something to the media capture process to just up the quality a little bit. And so I'll let Lance explain his project to you, but he'll be kind of going through some of the accessories that you can add to your phone to make it, to create better content. So then Bridget is going to go over some of the great tools, some of the free tools that Adobe has available to students. So at no cost whatsoever, you can get tools that, again, when I was in school, were just like impossible to imagine, right? That it would be on a phone or that he wouldn't be able to do what you can do. But the tools that are available for free now through Adobe, you can do some exceptional things with video, with content, with online content, and also with photos. So Bridget will be going over some of those tools that Adobe has. So the hope is then that you won't have that you'll be in that situation maybe sometime in the future, right, where you have that opportunity to capture the perfect moment. Or if you're a student that's about ready to graduate and thinking that you have to, find some friend with a $3,000 camera to take photos or take video for you, that you might find that you might actually want to experiment with some of these tools. And that's what we're going to have a chance to do today, is experiment with some of these tools. We're going to take a look at kind of what's available, but then you'll have a chance to actually put them to work. And I'm not going to give it away, but Bridget brought a special surprise for everyone who attended. So I think we have enough for judging. Yeah, just about. And if we don't, we'll make sure that you also get a special prize. So, all right, so with that, I want to then just turn it over to Lance, and he's going to go over, again, the capture process. Then we're going to hear about the software, and then we'll get a chance to put it to work. All right?
Thank you, Chris. So I'm going to begin by talking about specifically my project, and then I'm going to try and show you some of the tools we used. The project and the limitations of the project aren't necessarily going to be limitations for you or anybody else who chooses to use these tools. My situation was very specific to me, but I found ways to work around the limitations and enhance what I wanted to do with my iPhone. And so this project that I came into is based a little bit on my field of study. So I have 3 majors. I'm wrapping up my second undergraduate degree before leaving Pullman. The 3 majors are multimedia journalism, public relations, and women's studies. This project was done through, it's actually still happening, with an ASWSU subcommittee called It's on Cougs. And so last year they were working on a video that didn't entirely pan out the way they wanted it to. So they recruited me as well as some other volunteers to work on a new video that we could repurpose. But we didn't really have much of a budget, and we had to find some way to work around that. And in order to not fail with this project in a way that they could have something that was an educational resource, we decided to, I specifically decided to work with the iPhone 10 that I had gotten last fall. Any iPhone, or really any phone, whether you have an Android phone, works with this. And find a way to enhance what I already had in my pocket to create something that wasn't necessarily of insane high quality, but was of average quality and was something that didn't cost much to do. So there were limitations with stability and audio and whatnot, trying to create short situational PSAs. That was specifically what I wanted to do with this project, because instead of trying to educate individuals on exactly what sexual assault and harassment is, I realized I didn't clarify that before. It's on Cougs is a group that works to raise public awareness regarding sexual assault and harassment. And so with that, we decided to imitate the project. It was produced by David Schwimmer, Ross from Friends. Him and a bunch of other talented individuals created these short situational films that went viral last year as they partnered, or I don't think they partnered, but they were supported by Joe Biden's It's On Us campaign. And so those specifically went into the workplace and showed these situations of both subtle and overt sexual harassment and suggestions for assault. So we spent the last 7 weeks developing 4 scripts, not necessarily that we would produce all 4 scripts, but 4 situational scripts, had them read by beta readers, and had a lot of outside resources. We had about 15 different organizations review this content, choose whether they were going to support us or not in it, try and make sure it was not only relatable, but was intersectional and appropriate. And with all that outside information, we developed this kit so that we could film it on our own without having to rely on others. So I was going to try and build it for you and explain it. Since I have a mic, I'm just going to bring it over and I'll point out the tools that we have. And I also have some pictures on this Spark page. So the tools that we chose to work with, that's cut off a little bit, but is Videographer X Filmmaking Bundle, clip lenses, a mobile Osmo, which is essentially just a gimbal, which I'll pull out of here. It's nice for being able to do pans and stabilizing your iPhone. There are instructions on it, as well as buttons and tools, so that if you use the app or other filmmaking apps, you can control the phone and maneuver it with just your thumb as you're moving around. So that was super useful and fairly affordable. I didn't entirely have the budget myself, but I found supporters through my internship and others who were willing to help me develop this bundle that costs less than $1,000. So not every college student has $1,000, or even less than $1,000. They might not even have $5. So some of these tools that I have aren't necessarily achievable, but they did help some of the small aspects of the project. And it is something where if you explain your project well enough, you can get support from others who either want to financially support you or know people who can financially support you. I wrote on this slide that it was under $1,000, but I'm pretty sure it was roughly around $600 for all the tools that I ended up utilizing for this project. We did our first cut of filming yesterday, and we used the kit that you can see to your right. These are the tools that we used. We had some technical difficulties yesterday with the mic, but that's because we decided to try and use an app that was used by Steven, I'm going to butcher his last name, Soderbergh. Recently, there's been trailers for a film called Unsane, and that was the app he utilized to be able to have essentially DSLR-type controls on his phone, or phones that they used for the film. And so it's a feature film that is releasing, I believe, in about a week or two. But we utilized that, and that was actually very helpful with the footage that we got. But because the mic wasn't working, the audio was pretty tough to work with. And we're looking right now at utilizing Adobe Voice, actually, because we're editing the footage in Adobe Premiere to potentially record voiceovers and have the volunteers who were through Stage, which is a small acting group here on campus, to be able to utilize that and work with us on that project. So this is the cage that we got. You can see there on the right on your presentations there. And there are little slots. You can't really see them from where you're sitting, but you can slide all of your tools on the top and in the center. Those clips, actually, if you could, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I'm gonna be like the hand model.
Cool. Yeah. So that's the cage, and we have shoe mounts that are utilized for specific tools on this, and the phone goes on top. This is the clip. It's adjustable. So as you can see here, Chris, on the bottom, I'm showing you so you can slide it on. There's this square here, and that's where you're going to slide it on there. You're going to use these circles to screw it on for security. And on the top, there's a little knob that you can unscrew as well so you can adjust the clip to get the iPhone on. My case isn't on this, so
Be careful.
yes. It's a lot of glass.
It's very nice. Only have to adjust this.
Yeah, so right on top. So as you're adjusting that, the mic that we got was about $100-ish, $150, and it's a Rode mic. Super simple to use. It automatically connects with the iPhone app that you're using. The issue we were having was that Filmic Pro app, and for some reason it wasn't reading, and in that app you need to click which microphone you're specifically using, because you can decide whether you're going to use the front mic or the back mic of your iPhone. And so we utilized, or tried to utilize this, and you connect this little router there so that you can plug this directly into your phone. If you have anything before an iPhone 7 Plus, you will need to end up utilizing this dongle because Apple likes to be different. And so it's not a huge deal. It just adds an extra inch. So some extra cords, but it's not a huge hassle.
What is this part? Kind of what does this allow us to do?
So that
Clip stuff too.
yeah, so it stabilizes it really well. Yesterday when we were filming, there was no movement, even though it was very cold out where we were filming, and our hands were shaking quite a bit. I had a volunteer film person join us, and it allows you to maneuver through sequences and essentially do the same thing the Osmo does, but you end up having to be a little more conscious of what you're doing, and it doesn't automatically stabilize for you. And the Osmo makes more of the movements for you. So really you just need to kind of move your wrist a little bit, and it works a lot easier. And it has those controls on it where you can control it with your thumb. You still have to take your hand off of one side and manipulate what you're doing on your phone to get those specific controls worked out. So that just slides right there in the center. And for flash, yeah, spontaneous having Chris help me because I was going to build it.
So what
Yes.
does this do for us, the stabilization?
It's not in there fully. But
So what is it?
anyways, so keeping that in the center is just, that's how it was designed to utilize it, so that you can get as many tools as you can connected to this. But one of the things that we purchased to fit on top was a flash. So there's 3 different settings in the flash. Hopefully it doesn't blind anybody. You just hold it for a couple seconds, turns on. There's 3 different settings. And then you just hold it to turn it off. This worked really well to make sure that we were able to get clear faces, as well as we were filming outside yesterday and the clouds are changing a lot. But you can't really tell in the footage because we utilized a flash. And this is connected with a shoe mount. That connects here, or possibly that side. You might need to move the phone over. You need to adjust it kind of based on what fits best. We won't put this on right now. Okay. But that shoe mount goes on the side, and you connect the flash, and it adjusts. It swivels around, so you can put it up if you want the light above you. We put it sideways. That worked really well. And the final tool that we had for this kit, and I'll try and wrap this up quickly, is clip-on lenses. They're not necessary, but they kind of give you more utility. So we got telephoto wide angle, and we also had a macro lens. And if I can open this, they're about this size. They have caps on them, easily tied on. These are the clips that you would twist it on, and you would place it over your camera on your iPhone. The cameras that have multiple lenses, like the iPhone 10 or the 8 or the 7s, gets a little tricky. You kind of have to play with it a little bit and figure out where to place it over your camera so that it actually doesn't read the other lens. But that works out super well. And Adobe also has lenses that you can utilize, and I'm trying to pull out here, that are a little bit smaller. The ones I got were about, I think, $25 each. But Adobe has small ones as well that you can clip on and are really useful for vacations. If you just want to demonstrate that, you can just clip it on right there. Don't even need to take the lens cap off. It changes the scope of what you're able to film on your phone. So like a macro lens. I have multiple part-time jobs outside of school, and one of them is running social media for the Coug. And for a period of time there, the Coug is a local bar and grill. And there were pictures for a season that I was taking where I would get close-ups on like the Guinness glasses. And it was super cool because you could actually see every individual sud. And it was like photos that I was able to put in a bank to utilize later. And I didn't publicize a lot of them. But there are different things that you can utilize it for. You can use it to look at close-up things on the ground. I felt like a 5-year-old and was looking at ants one day. It was a lot of fun. But the flexibility allows you to whatever you imagine is necessary for your video. There's an achievable way to present it and document it, and it might not be as clear and crisp as, say, a Canon 7D, but you can develop these things quickly. You can develop them in a couple of hours, and all of the work I've been doing has been either on my phone or my Surface Pro, which has pretty decent processing power. I obviously can't do a ton of work all at once. It's not like a lot of the computers we're privileged here at WSU to be able to use, but I'm able to connect this content, and even the footage we got yesterday, I uploaded it all to Dropbox to share in like a group account, and we were able to put together a draft of the video so that we could send it to the volunteers who acted in it so they could see if they were interested and willing to do voiceovers for it. And we were able to throw that together really fast on my phone. Like I think I used iMovie. I have a couple different apps that I've been experimenting with, but I used iMovie, and I was like, hey, can you guys play with these Adobe apps and see if you're able to get anything that we would be able to connect with this. And the Adobe apps are super useful, even with these other apps that aren't Adobe, to utilize, because the Adobe apps allow you to take these different formats and get them in one place where you can connect them all and get them to begin to overlay and manipulate it together and create something that is tangible for others to see. And like ASWSU, we need to get specific things approved in order to make progress on something. And so it's been helpful to be able to do that so we can show what has been happening, what can happen, et cetera.
So this kit with the light was like 400 something? It was relatively expensive.
Yeah, the kit was like maybe close to 500, and then we got the Osmo and some extra lenses, and it rounded out at about like $650, $700-ish. I don't have the exact numbers, but we have it on our Excel spreadsheets. But that is one of those things where you don't necessarily need all these tools. These were tools specifically that I wanted to utilize in the project and see if they worked out, because this has been an experimental process. And even yesterday when we were filming, with the technical difficulties, I had 3 locations to film at. First 2 were closed, even though they said we had permission to film in them. So we had to move to a third spontaneously, work there, and then the mic wasn't working, and it was just the apps and the tools that we had allowed us to not just be like our first hurdle, all right, we got to stop. We don't know what we're doing. We had this arsenal. I had this arsenal on my phone where we could continue to move forward. And as long as I was willing to adapt, there was really no way to truly fail. There was just ways to fail at what we initially planned to do. Some of the things that I noticed when we were filming that I'll share with you really quick, just 'cause I think it's useful since this is a learning experience for me as well. I'm documenting it all as well in a DIY packet so that other RSOs in the future can utilize it. Hopefully it's something with our internship, the Monroe Innovation Community, can be developed and checked out by individuals, accessed online. Hopefully these kits can be checked out by individuals in the future. This kit, I say kits, optimistic there might be more. But it's one of those things where I don't want other people to be at square one like I was, and I understand that there are other resources like this out there, but this is specific to the WSU community and specific to WSU projects or a project that can really help people who are either freshmen, sophomores, trying to do these things on their own. It might not even be a part of a registered student organization. And so some of those issues were, so we had clear footage, smooth mobility. It was slightly sensitive to shaking, but not too bad. We had technical difficulties with the app and the mic. But once that was overcome, the biggest hurdles that we had was that my phone battery drained 30% in 1 hour. So I'm probably going to purchase an extra case that has a battery attached so it can charge while we're utilizing it, because it also has a port on it where I can connect lightning cables and connect the mic and whatnot. And it also consumed a lot of storage on my phone. And because I have iCloud, when I got the 10, I didn't get the largest amount of storage. I got the smallest amount of storage. And so if I wasn't connected to Wi-Fi at the time, it would have been harder to store all the video footage we got because it was all uploading online while we were doing it. But in other cases, it'd be hard if you only had your hardware device. And as far as that goes, that's all I have for explaining my project. But I know Bridget wants to explain some things that you can utilize to make the process easier. That's a lot of advice that I've been applying the last couple of days. And then we'll transition into the workshop.
Right, so hi everybody. I am Bridget McNamara. So as Chris mentioned, I am your customer success manager. So I work with Washington State University, and why I'm explaining that is to give you kind of a background. I'm not a very technical person. I usually travel with some really smart technical people. And so what the great thing is, though, is that Spark and mobile apps, what I'm going to go over today, anybody can use them. Like, we're working with K-12 districts in the state of Idaho, and we have third graders creating Spark video, like movies and quick tutorials and digital storytelling. They're telling their stories. They're sharing, greetings with their grandparents. They're super pretty easy and innate tools once you just jump in and learn a little bit more about them. And then all of our mobile apps as well are available. And the more you play with them, the more you get familiar. But they're meant for people to be using one on the fly, but also to not require as much time and effort while you're going through the creative process. And then the great thing about all of those tools as well is if you do have an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription and you're using our more professional tools like Premiere, you can start your workflow on your mobile device and then continue to pull that through the cloud and edit it when you open some of our more professional tools. So kind of shared some of the stuff I was going to go over through this walkthrough, but let's see, is this mine? Okay, sorry, I had to switch my Spark pages, and this is not the right one. Okay, so I'm going to skip. We're just going to go with it. Like I mentioned, a lot of our tools are intuitive. They're pretty easy to use. So I'm going to first talk about is Adobe Spark. And so I'm curious, who in the room is familiar with Adobe Spark, the family of tools, has played around with it a little bit? Okay. So I would suggest too, I don't mind if while I'm going through my piece, is that if you want to get your mobile devices out and start downloading some of these apps, because after we're going to go into the workshop piece, you guys can get them starting going. So a Spark is both available on the desktop. There's a family of tools. There's 3 tools. They're also available on iOS device right now. So if you're using an Android phone, you won't be able to download the Spark family, but that is planned and that's coming. The idea around Spark tools are to allow people to tell their story. So the 3 tools we'll start with Post. So Spark Post is typically used to create social media content, posts that you can put on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Beautiful graphics, beautiful. You can use Adobe Pictures on your own. You can use your own pictures. For the purposes of today, why it's important in video is it's a great way to make like a title page. So by using Spark Post, you can either take some footage, take a photo of some of the footage you've taken, or maybe you just want to, create a different title page, and use that either in Spark Video, or you can also use it in Premiere Clip, which are the two primary editing tools we'll talk about. So Spark Post is the first one I would encourage you to look at. Let's pop over to the Spark page and I can show you some of these examples. Sorry. Whoop. Yeah, if you want to drive. Yeah. So the great part about Spark is the idea is that you're not spending a lot of time thinking about placement and thinking about colors and themes and how things, you don't get stuck in the minutia around the design as much. Adobe has made the tool so that you can include the text and include the content, the digital content that you want, and then it gives you ideas on how to make it look better or different or more engaging. You can also add some animation in Spark Post, so you can add, your words can come in, which is great when you're using that within a video header. And let's see if we can get a couple of different examples up. So, what's that? Oh yeah, so if you want to go in the gallery or just show like kind of the idea of what Spark Post looks like. The next tool is Spark Video. And so if you want to start downloading that as well, that originally started as Adobe Voice. So if anybody's used to hearing that app, again, it was the idea of creating Spark Video is a digital storytelling tool. So we see K-12 students using it. We see a lot of small businesses using it, either for an ad or to put something on their webpage to explain Kickstarter videos. Another way to create content and then add your voice over that. So you could either use like icons and still pictures, or you can use video. You can add music in the background, you can add transitions, you can cut in, we call them slides. So when you're using them, you have to be considerate of how much time you can put on each slide, but you can now, there's a feature that lets you bring over, if the content on one slide is too long, you can bring that over onto another slide, so it's a lot more seamless. Adobe is putting a ton of resources in our Spark tools. We see the value, and we also, a lot of our, even our design community sees the value. And what we find is that when we first talk to creative professionals, their thought was, oh my gosh, are you trying to make this easier so that people don't need to hire us? And they're now making social media posts and they're making video. Once they started to play with the tools, they realized that is not the case. What it is it's just another tool, but it's an easy tool that they're even using, because what they're finding is that sometimes when you're going to make, let's say you're going to make an ad about your student organization, you're going to say, hey guys, you're going to promote something, we're having an activity next week. You don't need to spend 2 hours in InDesign doing that. You literally want to spend 15 minutes of your time or 20 minutes of your time. Your time is valuable, and so we're just trying to augment your toolbox really, and what you can use as a creative professional or just in your everyday life while you're kind of creating your brand. So maybe if we want to go back and do maybe just show a quick Spark video. Sure. Sure. And I mean, do you have any? So great. So everybody knows that a video tells a story a lot better than just a picture or text. So I always like to show, I'm glad you showed a food one, because nobody hates looking at food videos. but it just tells tells a better story, right? And so with Spark Video, you can also go in and add your voice over that. Literally push a press button. Chris is going to jump in. He's going to log into his Spark, which brings me back to I forgot. So as you're downloading these apps on your phone, if you don't already have an Adobe ID, you will be required to get one. So these are all of our free tools, and Adobe ID is free. So when you go to log in for the first time, you'll select create an Adobe ID if you don't already have one. And the great thing is that the Adobe ID is free, and it comes with a limited amount of storage for free. And so if you have this on your iPad, on your desktop, and on your iPhone, your projects all sync across those seamlessly. So I can start, and I hate to say it, I have started projects like at a stoplight. Oh my gosh, I took a great picture and I've started the project. And then when I get home, I can then open it up on my desktop. I have a nice 27-inch screen, and I can kind of dive into the project a little more. It's that fast. Great. So Chris is logged in, and so you'll see that it's so intuitive. Well, I probably should go to this one. So if you click on the plus sign, and it pops up a new page, and it asks you, do you want to import video? Do you want to add text? Do you want to add a photo or an icon? So it walks you through the process. So if you were to click a photo, you have all of these options. You can upload photos from your own desktop or from your phone, anywhere that you're storing those already, whether it's if you have a Creative Cloud account, if you have Lightroom Mobile on your desktop or on your phone. But I always say start with find free photos. And these are all Creative Commons licensed photos, so there's no watermarks on them. They're free for your use. And if you want to submit photos to our Creative Commons to be a part of this, you can actually do that as well. Washington State University used to actually get some real pictures, like Bryan Tower was on there, but I don't know what happened recently. It used to pull a bunch up, but I can't do that lately. So I don't know if there's something going on with our pictures lately, but in the last week, I've been having a harder time searching them. Typically, it's pretty easy. But again, if you have photos or video, like today, if you go out and you take some video on your phone, you're just going to press plus, you're going to select video, and it'll allow you to kind of scroll either with your finger on your phone or your iPad, or in the desktop, it allows you to kind of make those crops there. If you were to add, Chris, can you click on the microphone for me? Can you click? Sorry, I'm looking this way. Can you click on the microphone for me, please? The microphone right in the middle. Yep. So if you were to click here, that is how you start recording your voice over the top of your Spark Video. So you'll start speaking. It will allow you a certain amount of time. You can see how long this slide will appear. You can change that. It'll let you speak, and then it will let you edit part of that as well. So I don't know what it took. I might hear me over again. You'll start speaking. It will allow you a certain amount of time. You can see how long this slide will. No, nobody likes to hear themselves speak, especially on a microphone over. Yeah, it is. That's why I say, I love to show an example. There was a little Girl Scout who put a video together to sell Girl Scout cookies and sent it with her mom took the link and then sent it around her work. I remember when we would send that piece of paper and you'd be like, Mom, can you maybe ask your friends at work if they can sign up for some cookies, And it felt like it wasn't a lot of effort. My mom would never do it because it was like, you haven't actually gone out and tried to sell those cookies. I'm not taking it to work and having my friends buy it. But this little girl put together a Spark video, and her mom sent it around, and she's saying, this is what it benefits. It benefits Troop 310. Here are the different cookies. Here's how much they cost. Please support me. And I feel like everybody who's seen that video is like, how can I support this girl? I'm like, I'll buy cookies from you. It was so great to see that. So go off on a tangent. But you have to search our gallery. There's lots of inspiration. You can add music. This is all, again, free Adobe kind of tunes. They all kind of have their own little theme. And then the themes and the layout. So here we have, again, we're taking the decisions some, not decisions away, but we're taking away kind of all of the angst that goes through with what text should I select and what background and how should things be flying in from the left and the right. And we have automatic themes that you can just select a theme, and then the entire presentation will take on that theme. So a lot of what I'm showing you here in video, it's the same in post, it's the same in page. You kind of can get comfortable with what themes you like. Eventually, some of that, there may be a little bit more control around text and things that you can add. But for right now, this is the whole point of Spark, is to make it simple so that you're not taking a lot of time to figure all of that out. And then layout as well. You can have split screens, you can have title screens, you can have just text, you can have all video. So we give you some options there as well. Yes. So the only other app I would show is Premiere Clip. So Premiere Clip is on your mobile device as well. There's a whole family of mobile device or mobile apps that I would encourage you to take a look at, and I'll pull the page up as you guys are doing your workshop piece. I would point out, so Premiere Clip is actually our video editing mobile app. Again, you just need a free Adobe ID. If you have a Creative Cloud Enterprise account, you can then import those videos into Creative Cloud, but start in Premiere Clip. You have the ability to do a lot of the same things as Spark Video, but it's the interface and the feeling is a lot more like Premiere. So the control is all on you. There's no themes, but there's music. You can add transitions. You can add bumpers if you have a title that you want to have in the front and the back. No, that's perfect. That explains more than me. So once you get into Premiere Clip, you will see that you can speed things up, slow things down. You can change exposure, saturation. You can do some of those simple editing. You can add music on different clips. So literally, it's just a matter of kind of getting in there and messing around for a couple of minutes. But it's a really great tool to get your feet wet around our Premiere tools. And then lastly, some other things I would say is Photoshop Fix and Photoshop Mix. If you're taking any photos, those are great apps to just do some basic editing on. And that's about it. So I don't want to take too much time. I think we want to go over the... Yeah, perfect.
So for the workshop that we're going to hop into, we'll try and keep it short and sweet, but just kind of get familiar with the Adobe software if you download it on your phone. Is the theme of the Murrow Symposium, as you know, is your stories. And your stories are also WSU stories, especially with the symposium and what we're doing today and talking about our industry. So for the next 10 to 15 minutes, what we were hoping to do is Bridget actually has a gift for you all. We have 49 clip-on lenses for your phones. And what we were going to have you all do is for the next 10 to 15 minutes, go on your phone, grab a handful of photos that you've taken here at WSU, experiences from your WSU college experience. So even if it's like out doing things with your friends or out on Greek Row or at your apartment, whatever you're doing, pull those photos together, throw them together in a video slideshow. You can do it individually, you can do it in groups, that's fine. And share those photos, do some audio clips, get it over that, and talk about why those photos are important to you. I'm going to have you email those to a page I'll pull up in a second with my email, which is lancelee@mediabylancelee.com. And we'll show like 3 or 4 of the first few that were sent on the screen before we wrap up this presentation. So feel free to go and meet up with Bridget over there, grab your lenses, and then start accumulating those photos and recording your video and audio. If you want an example of what you can do with like Spark Video too, a couple of months ago I made a super passive-aggressive video for my roommates. It took me 15 minutes. They weren't cleaning, and so they weren't listening to any of my texts in our group text message. So I made like a really short video of me cleaning and talking about why cleaning is important for our health. Texted it. They all responded like angrily, but they listened and thought it was funny. Changed things up a little bit. Super easy to make. Also, something I just thought of, if you don't want to film in here, there's like better lighting over by that window over there, and there's like different opportunities on this first floor or the second floor here. Yeah, you can just hop wherever, but it's probably better than just like sitting in a seat and recording, or like accumulating photos here is fine, but there are some different options, so you don't have to go too far.
Hey, so as you're kind of getting things together, the first piece of advice I'd say is with Spark Video, which is what I think you're probably going to end up using, is just to dive into it, because once you get into it, it's pretty intuitive. The first thing I ask you to do is to name your new file here, right? So. But then once you're in there, it gives you the options to use different templates, and if you start from scratch, that works pretty well. But here's kind of the paradigm that I would think of if I'm starting to work through this, is just to try to think of it as almost like a PowerPoint. And so a lot of like when we're working through this in the classroom, what we'll do is have people add a couple photos to start, and then go ahead and try playing it through to see how those photos are. And as Bridget mentioned, you can it looks a little bit different on your phone, but you can change the timing down here of each individual photo. So maybe just start to get a sense of kind of how it plays and how the pacing goes. It automatically adds the music. If you want to turn the music off, you can, which some people want to. Some people love the music, but you do have the option to turn the music off as well. So I would say, yeah, just if we're trying to get started on this, just you've been on campus. I mean, some of you, if you're students, you are here all the time. So just to kind of start to put together a couple recent photos and see how that starts to become a story. So just kind of dive into it, and then what ends up happening is you end up coming up with ideas, starting to change the pacing, and then you can grab a video and you can see how that plays compared to a photo. So I would encourage you just to go ahead and use the time now to start to kind of try some things, and then from that you're going to end up coming up with a story, even if it's a simple one, right? If you want to add text to your photos, you always can on here. So when you're ever in doubt in this process, go ahead and just hit the plus. So I'll go ahead and be quiet so you can record, but that's just kind of words of encouragement. Go ahead and just give it a try. And then, as Lance said, he'll get the email up there in just a sec.
Okay, I'm going to say one more thing. So, if you're filming from your phone, you really, really want to do it horizontally. A lot, I've been hearing that for years, and sometimes I do it, mostly I don't. I film vertically. When you go to edit, especially in like Spark Video, Premiere Clip, if it's vertical, in Premiere Clip, you'll get the lines off to the side, so it won't fill your screen. I have a help page on how to help fix that. In Spark Video, your heads will just be cut off. So it's kind of devastating, like putting together personal videos and not having the right format. So make sure you're turning your phones horizontally, and then you'll be happy.
So it is instantly. You do have the option to download the file on the next screen, but you are required to publish it because it is a cloud-based system. You are publishing it to the cloud, but it's using an incredibly long, impossibly to remember URL. So every time you share, though, this is important to remember, is the URL is going to be unique. So even if you have like the same file and you were to share it now and maybe work on it a bit and share it, tonight or something like that, the URL will actually change that it shares it from. So that's something to remember if you're going to share something with someone and send it to them, that if you do additional work, the URL that they go to will actually be a little bit outdated. It won't be the most recent one. So just keep in mind that what you are putting it out on the server, but it's in a place that you actually have the option not to get noticed. So you would just go ahead and pick a category on that, Lance. So whatever you want to. It added the title from the first page. You're already you're logged in because it already shows as the author. So here's where you have the option to either you could turn that off if you want it to be anonymous, or also you can have it here and say it's not going to be found by a search engine, or it's not going to be included on the main catalog page of Spark. So select those however you want, and then say go ahead and create link. And what it'll do, it'll go ahead and render that file in a way that you can share it just using the link, which is really cool because then you're not sending the file to anyone, or you're not having to post it to a web page or post it on YouTube or something like that. It right from here, it's going ahead and creating an actual page that you can share immediately. Hey, just go back to the other page real quick. Yeah. So I went ahead and published it, so it's now got a shareable link, which you can copy, or you can go right to Facebook or right to Twitter and post it from there. So that would be what you'd send to Lance. It'd be like, you go ahead and copy that. If you click on email, it'll open up your email client. But yeah, if you probably got it set up on your phone. So go ahead and do however you want, whether you want to copy it into an email, or go ahead and just hit the email option, or if you want to share it on Facebook, you can. So that's what you would actually share with someone. And again, it's immediately shared to the Spark website, and so you can share it with anyone right away. Wait, so is it Kevin? Do you want to introduce your piece at all? Or? Here, hold on. This is your moment, man. Kevin, by the way, also was in Creative Jam. He did a great job. So.
Thank you. This is just a bunch of random videos I had on my phone, and most of them are used in slow motion, so enjoy.
So I got my bachelor's here in 2001, and I'm back after 16 years. And it's just been really cool to bring my husband and be back on campus and see all the differences. And putting it on Facebook, it sparked a couple of my girlfriends to send us old pictures, and I sent new pictures. And we went to the Coug yesterday and had a beer, and nobody had heard of Bladder Busters. We don't know what happened to that. What happened to Bladder Busters? It's where you. They were wondering if maybe, you know, there was a lawsuit. I don't know what happened. But, and then that's where I lived. It's on Whitman there, that house above the train car. I rented that side apartment for a very. Did you?
On the house right now.
Yeah.
I think it used to be a shop, but I actually live on Whitman too, right up that funky driveway.
Yeah.
Right at the top there.
Yeah. So it's just been really cool being back here and adding to my own story, because I'm a Coug to the core. I got my bachelor's and now I'm getting my master's here. So go Cougs.
Very nice. Ash? Do you
I
want
don't really have anything to say other than I don't even know if there's sound on it. I music, but I didn't check it once I got into my phone, so might just be videos and photos. Happy accidents. That's what my parents called me. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Thank you very so inspiring, right? So, I mean, how long? Maybe, but so you could see where if you saw it, you've watched it, and there's things you might improve, right? Or some additional photos, or someone might see that and say, "I've got some, pictures of that," right? So, it really is valuable in that. I love the immediacy of this tool, and that it allows you to very quickly get ideas out there. So we've got probably like 5-10 minutes. So we could, first of all, are there any questions at all, especially since you've got an Adobe expert here that uses this tool, sounds like every day. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So each slide has a max time frame, so you can add as many slides. And that way, if you have a clip that spills over the amount of time on that slide, you can select to have it spill into the next slide. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of playing off like on a lot of the Facebook videos that just have words for, a lot of media now is built for no sound, kind of just words like on text you'll see on the information. Is that probably like the strongest way to use like this media for something like maybe you want to have an advertisement for like a business or something that you're doing that's really good.
Yeah.
For like a business or something, and have just kind of like the words on screen.
Sure. I don't know if that was our reasoning behind kind of creating those features in Spark. If you go to like our inspiration gallery, you'll see a mix of probably half like video that has somebody speaking over it, and then half with maybe just music and some words in the background. The idea is to make it easier for people to have visual representation in video of something they ordinarily wouldn't be able to do. So making a tool that is easier for them to capture that content and to edit it versus our go-to tool was always Premiere. And I don't know the learning curve on Premiere is pretty high. So when we started with Adobe Voice, all of a sudden the doors were open. And like I said, all of a sudden we had kindergartners and third graders making video, and we were like, wow, this is a pretty neat tool, but it's also a tool that's allowing us to capture a whole nother generation of creators. And, you know, people in every generation like myself, I don't know how to use Premiere, but I know how to use, you know, Premiere Clip or Spark. So kind of answer it. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You're saying you can get rid of the sponsorship at the end if you have, so if you have other paid Adobe products, or you have to pay for a certain Spark.
So if you have a Creative Cloud Enterprise subscription, then you have the ability to remove Adobe branding. And then if you have, and you can then also create a branded template and add your own logo. We have made some announcements recently about making it more accessible for people for education, like students. I don't think the branding was part of it. And I'm only saying that because I'll go look into that and Google that as well. I don't think that that was a change, but it may have been. But for sure, if you have a Creative Cloud Enterprise account, you can get rid of all the branding. Yeah.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, if you want to take some time, we do have a few minutes. So if you want to take a closer look at any of the gear that Lance had shown, we've got the kit available. If you want to maybe try your phone out or something briefly, yes, we could absolutely do that. But I want to thank you all for first of all sharing your stories and how quick that was, and taking the time today to learn just a little bit. So I hope that you all found this useful and can create some wonderful stories. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the symposium.